What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. As usual, I'm your host, Patrick Hennessy, joined today by the man, Sean Petrucci. How we doing, Sean?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Can't complain, as usual. Listen, I do want to talk about Gary Sanchez and his hot start to the 2021 season. But before we do that, everyone be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. We're going live before and after every Yankees game this season, so stay tuned for that. Going live on off days, too. But like I said, I want to talk about Gary Sanchez, kind of like really good start to the 2021 season, especially considering the season he had in 2020. Let's look at his stats really quickly. So far in just about 34 at bats, he has 9 hits, 2 of which are home runs, 4 RBIs. He's batting .265 with a 3.7 on base and an .846 OPS. I would say that Gary Sanchez has kind of gone under the radar so far this season as being one of the Yankees' best hitters. I think that this is a key just because like these aren't stats that kind of like pop out to you like crazy. But coming off the 2020 season he had, where he was batting like 147 all year, getting absolutely criticized by every fan that there is, and then coming off an off season where every single fan, every single media outlet were calling for his neck, calling for Higgy to start. This is I would say one of the best case scenarios for Gary Sanchez to start off the season. No?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, props to him, man, because that's tough to deal with. I mean, you're trying to prepare and like get yourself better as a baseball player, and everywhere you look, you got someone coming for you.
Yeah.
That's really really difficult, especially when you have a pretty good backup in Higashioka. So we even saw last year, like he kind of got benched in a way. So I mean, huge props to him. It really is flying under the radar, which is kind of a shame because if it was the other way around, it'd be all we're talking about.
Yeah.
Gary Sanchez is terrible. So I think it definitely deserves more recognition. He's playing his butt off. And how about his defense, too?
Yeah.
His
That's
defense
something.
has been really, really, really good. I mean, blocking balls, we all know about his arm strength. He obviously had that one base running blunder, but I mean, that's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. But all in all, really good start for Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, like I said it before, like I don't think Gary could have gotten off to a better start. I mean, technically, like numbers wise, he
Well,
could have
yeah, of
short.
course. But
But I mean, if we're talking in realistic terms, this is all we wanted from Gary Sanchez. Like I would say he's outperforming expectations so far to start the year because we said we would be satisfied with like a 220 batting average with like 25 home runs this season. I think he's going to outperform that, especially if he continues at this pace. Obviously, he's going to slump at some point. But
he
I
already
think
kind of did.
exactly. That's why it's so important that he's off to the hot start because then those numbers are just going to even out at a decent place. You know what I mean? Rather than like at the end of the season he's batting 147.
That's kind of been the player that Gary's always been. And then that's why the 60 game season, it's easy to look at the numbers and say he was terrible, but that's a player he is. He's streaky. Like if that was a full 162, no doubt in my mind he
Yeah.
would have evened it out.
He
He would have evened
definitely
it
would
out,
have finished.
and like the numbers wouldn't have looked as bad. So it's tough to judge on the 60 game season, but in general, man, just to have the confidence, like to come into
Yeah.
April and just hit the ball well, even if he's not, I think he has 7 strikeouts and 34
Yeah.
at bats. That's really good for Gary Sanchez.
No, I
That
know.
is, and he's just seeing the ball well. It's nice to see.
And I think what a lot of people like need to realize is Gary has kind of once again solidified himself as a top of the order bat, right? Because starting the season, we were looking at him as like 8, 9 hitter, maybe. He's worked his way back up to like 4, 5, maybe 6. Gary Sanchez is no longer like a bottom of the order bat. And if he is in the bottom of the order, like that's a really quality bat to have down there. But one thing I do want to mention about Gary, which I think is probably the key of the season for him, is Garrett Cole, right? It's kind of widely known that Kyle Higashioka is unofficially, but officially Garrett Cole's personal catcher. It seems like whenever the Yankees do give Gary off days behind the plate, it's when Cole is pitching. I guess they just work well together, but it's kind of unfortunate because we saw them work well together on opening day. And we kind of said all offseason, if Gary Sanchez is going to be the catcher the Yankees expect him to be, they're going to have to see like Cole and Gary work together at some point, especially in the postseason, because there's no way you're sitting Gary Sanchez if he's coming off like a season where he bats 250 with 30 home runs in game 1 of the ALDS. There's just no way you could sit him. Am I
No,
wrong for saying that?
no. You definitely can't. I mean, and I think that was probably on the top of Gary's list this offseason to get good at, I guess you could say, because like you said, I don't think the Yankees want to bench a hot bat just for like the pitcher. And
Yeah.
even in the first start, like you could say, yeah, it was a worst of the 3, but it wasn't bad by any means. I think he gave up 2 runs.
Yeah.
Obviously, he works better with Higashioka, and it's catchers don't catch every game of the week. So if it lands on the cold day, fine. But I think we're definitely going to see Boone give Gary more chances with Cole. Just
Yeah.
like you said, for the postseason. Has to.
Yeah, and I think that's important because I think we mentioned this on one of our post-game live streams. But if Cole is more comfortable with Higashioka, fine. And he wants to work the most of his regular season with him, that's fine. But what the Yankees have to make sure is Gary and Cole get consistent time to work together as well. I would say if Cole makes 30 starts this season, I would like to see Gary catch at least 10 of them.
Yeah, I was just
Is
about to
that
say like
fair?
10. Yes, 10 starts because you could like just spread them out. He already has one. Cole's probably going to make, like you said, like 30 something starts. Give him 8, 9, 10 starts and have them work together off the field. Like when he's throwing a bullpen, have him throw it to Gary.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I'm pretty sure, and we all see Cole talk to Gary. He's never come out and said, I don't want to work with Gary Sanchez. I don't think he feels that way. So I think it's just something that they got to get more comfortable with. I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessarily that Higgy's a better game caller. I think it's just that's kind of just how pitchers and catchers work. Like you just build a nice chemistry with somebody.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to mention is I kind of want to call out Yankee fans a little bit. All season last season, all we kind of heard was how much the Yankee fan base hated Gary Sanchez. Right, he struggled so much they wanted Higgy to start, and now I feel like nobody's really giving him his credit where credit is due. It seems like Gary Sanchez is just completely flying under the radar because fans are like, well, we were kind of wrong about him. He's performing well. I sometimes I don't want to say this, but I think that fans might root for players to like perform badly just because like it fits their own narrative, right?
There's definitely some fans that feel that way. You know, when Gary
Because now
Sanchez steps into the
Aaron Hicks,
box, like
bro,
yeah,
Aaron Hicks has taken the heat that Gary
Stanton.
Sanchez got.
It's
Exactly.
happened with Stanton before, Frazier. It happens all the time. That's just how Yankee fans work.
But
And
that's
I'm
what I'm
sure
saying.
that like 95% of people that were hating on Gary, they're still rooting for him. It's like, oh, like we want you to be better. Of course, there's like a small percentage that's going to be like every time he steps in the box, it's like, oh, I hope he strikes out so I could post my tweet after the game about
Yeah.
how bad he
No,
is.
yeah.
I'm sure
But
there's
that's what
some
I'm saying.
people that might think like that, but I think majority of Yankee fans genuinely want these players to do well.
Yeah, but that's just why I'm so confused. Like, why we're not seeing it like enough Gary
Yeah,
love out there. Like,
yeah.
I don't
Like
really
a
see
video
anybody
like this.
talking about it. That's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. It's like
Hmm.
no one's really touching on it. But listen, shout out to Gary Sanchez. I just hope that he could keep it up throughout the season. I'm not talking like we don't need an all-star season out of Gary Sanchez, but it's definitely possible. Like if
Oh,
he
it's
continues at
possible.
this rate,
Yes,
he might
yes.
be the starting catcher for the American League. I'm not getting too ahead of ourselves here. It's
Could be,
possible.
could be.
But listen, hopefully Gary can keep it up throughout the year as the season goes on. Yeah, that's gonna wrap things up for us today. Shout out to Gary. We love you, Gary. We've always loved you, Gary. Everyone be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Like I always say, we go live before and after every Yankees game this season, so stay tuned for that. You guys know the drill. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Have a good day. Peace.